In Parshas Bahaloischa, we have something that really is unique in the Torah, and that is the Torah talks about that they had to bring the Korban Pesach in the Midbar, in the desert, but there were some people that could not bring the Korban Pesach at that time. Why? Because they were Tomei Meis, because they were ritually impure. They had come in contact with a dead person, and as such, they could not bring the Korban Pesach, and they missed out on the Korban Pesach. Can you imagine, like, you missed out on matzah? Now what am I supposed to do? Vayemra anoshim ha'ima elov anachnu tmei lenefesh adam. Lomani gara levilti hakrives hakorban Hashem b'moyadai b'ser b'nei Yisrael. Lomani gara. Why should we miss out? What can we do? It wasn't our fault. We were ritually impure for good reasons. What's going to be with us? So the Torah goes ahead and did something that we rarely have. It's called a makeup Korban Pesach, which you bring on the 14th of Iyar, not the 14th of Nisan. This is a rarity. You missed Kriya Shema. Sorry, Charlie, you missed it. You missed davening. Well, there you can make it up, but that's based really the same concept as this. But generally speaking, there are no makeup tests or makeup mitzvahs in Torah. This is a notable exception. So the Sifri comments on this pasuk, Vayemra anoshim ha'ema elov magid shahayu b'nei adam ksherim v'tzadikim v'charedim ala mitzvahs. These people were correct. They were tzadikim, and to my knowledge, or my computer's knowledge, this is the only time that the Sifri used the word charedim. Now, that, Rabbi, say, is a $100 word today. Charedim. I mean, you can't read a newspaper or hear about the Charedim in Eretz Yisrael. What is that terminology? So in the United States of America, we are referred to as ultra-Orthodox. Now, I don't know where you are on the religious spectrum, but if you're listening to this year, you are ultra-Orthodox. Now, you may not consider yourself Orthodox. I'm a normal guy. I'm not ultra-Orthodox. But the way we are perceived in the world is we're ultra-Orthodox. Okay? In Eretz Yisrael, they don't have the word ultra-Orthodox. What's the word they have? Charedim. Charedim literally means trembling. But that doesn't have such a good connotation. What Charedim, the real translation of Charedim is, they're Charedim al Dvar Hashem. They're very, very concerned about their service to the Rebbeinu Shalom. They're passionate about it. Some people even may say they're fanatical about it, which again is not a good connotation. But the bottom line is they care. People care about their portfolio, people care about their cars, people care about all sorts of stuff. A Haredi is a person that cares about, is he doing the right thing? Is a service to the Rebbeinu Shalom correct? That's what a Haredi is. And that's all that matters to him, to do the Dvar Hashem. Let me tell you a story. The story is brought in a sefer called, I think, Olim L'Shabeach. It's a story with Rabbi Yissocher Zilberstein, who was an Odom Gadol in Eretz Yisrael, a Pesach. At any rate, the halacha is that if a person has some kind of medical condition which prevents him from fasting on Yom Kippur, he's allowed to eat. Your typical rabbi, here in Eretz Yisrael and everywhere, he spends the Erev Yom Kippur answering telephone calls from people, Rabbi, can I eat? Should I not eat? Because you have to understand what his condition is. And anyway, the person came to Rabbi Yissocher and he said to him, I have a certain condition, whatever it may be. The doctor says I must eat on Yom Kippur. Now, even if a person eats on Yom Kippur, but there's a halakhic procedure that a person should be considered still fasting. And how is that? He eats a minimal amount and drinks a minimal amount, and he spaces it between. And that's why a person can go through Yom Kippur and satisfy the medical requirement because he is getting sustenance, he is getting hydration, etc., but he's still considered fasting. But it's a process. How much you have to eat and how much you have to wait between every bite and how much you're allowed to drink and how much you have to wait between every. So Rabbi Yissocher sits down with this fellow and goes through the whole process. You're allowed to eat X amount and you have to wait X amount and you're allowed to drink this so much, etc., Got it? Fine. Gesundheit, having Yom Kippur, you're still considered fasting. A few days, a guy comes back to Rabbi Yissocher and says, could you go through it with me again? I'm not clear. Okay. Well, Rabbi Yissocher sits down with the guy, goes through the whole process again, the whole thing, the whole rigmarole, how much, how long, etc. Got it. Thank you. Thank you very much. This goes on for 3 or 4 times. Now, this guy is not an imbecile. He's an intelligent person. Why does he keep on coming back to Rabbi Yissocher? So he says, I apologize, but I'm so nervous that I'm not getting it straight. And I'm so concerned that maybe I'll eat a little more or drink a little more or I won't eat enough. Therefore, it doesn't go into my head. I'm not stupid. I'm just nervous. Very nervous. There's very few things in life are more important to me than fasting on Yom Kippur. That, Rabbi Yissocher said, is the definition of a Haredi. Because to him, doing the right thing, fasting on Yom Kippur, it's the most important thing in the world. If someone wants to give you a tremendous gift, but all you have to do is you have to go into a safe. And you know how a safe, the old safe, this way, that way. So you have to get it right, And the guy couldn't get it right. They told him the formula, they told him what you have to do. But it just didn't go in his head because this is my whole future. That's what obsessed him. This poor Yid was so concerned that he shouldn't violate Yom Kippur. He just couldn't process it enough. And had to be reassured that he's doing the right thing and he'll do it right. That is a Haredi.